Singapore generated a record amount of food waste last year, and while the recycling rate has risen, it still falls short of the government's target to have 30% of food waste recycled by 2012. This week, Monica Kotwani puts the spotlight on the issue of food waste and the measures that are needed to tackle it.
It's preparation time before the lunch crowd at the industrial area of Tai Seng flocks to Hei Sushi. And the restaurant staff is ready, preparing sushi with fresh cuts of salmon and rice. While doing so, the restaurant, owned by Sakai Holdings, ensures very little goes to waste. Bits of the salmon that do not make the cut for sashimi are used in the salad or as topping for the gonkan sushi dish. Salmon skin is deep fried and pounded into pieces for salmon skin sushi. Fish bones are used as soup stock, and Sakai Holdings has been piloting a treatment plant on its own premises to convert excess fish bones and other food waste into animal feed.
Managing food wastage need not be at the end part of the finished product, but actually as early as working with the farms. So while we go and understand how the farms are actually growing their fishes, the kind of fish feed that are being used for the fish, the kind of yield, because you get better yield, you actually get less wastage on the whole cycle of the fish. So understanding that portion all the way to how the cold supply chain is being managed, because if your cold supply chain is not robust, then you're going to get wastage as well, because there's some damaged goods or goods that are not usable.
While companies like Sakai Holdings are at the forefront of efforts to reduce food waste, it's an issue that continues to plague Singapore as well as countries across the world. About 1/3 of all food is wasted from the moment it's produced to the time it's consumed. According to the United Nations, that's enough to feed 2 billion people. If it's not recycled, food waste ends up in landfills, where it produces methane, a greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change. Like most developed countries, Singapore's food waste comes from different sources: hotels, supermarkets, food manufacturers and restaurants. Last year, Singapore generated almost 800,000 tons of food waste, the highest in recent years. Imagine 95 football fields like this filled up with expired food, leftovers from hotel buffets, and even that dinner you could not finish last night. Experts say each individual in Singapore could be producing up to 400 grams of food waste every day. In 2012, an inter-ministry committee was established to explore ways of reducing food waste, and it came up with several recommendations. These included making it mandatory for large companies to report how much food they waste and conducting public outreach efforts. But these have yet to be implemented. The committee also commissioned a survey in September to understand consumer behavior and habits. Stakeholders like supermarkets say this is a good step. Last month, NTUC FairPrice came up with a framework to reduce food waste in its supermarkets. The supermarket chain estimates it generated 0.3% of the nation's total food waste last year. The bulk of it is fruit and vegetable waste. Over the years, it's been trying to reduce food waste. Prices of seafood and chilled meat are marked down on the second day on the shelf and disposed on the third if unsold. When it comes to choosing fruits and vegetables, you may be surprised at how some of your habits may result in food waste. For example, picking up this orange, pressing it to see if it's ripe, or even by smelling it, you may be damaging the look and feel of the fruit. And if it doesn't look good, chances are it will be left unsold and eventually disposed. To address this, supermarkets often pre-pack some fruits and vegetables. Since people are more likely to buy produce that looks good, the food you see on shelves has gone through what is known as cosmetic filtering. At NTUC FairPrice, staff trim vegetables to get rid of the leaves that are less pleasing to the eye. Those that can't be saved and remain unsold will be disposed of, even if they're still edible. This is something FairPrice wants to address.
Going forward, maybe we may have a section, for example, where the fruits or the vegetables may not look so nice, but they're certainly very wholesome, and the prices, I think, should be different. And this way, again, instead of these being thrown away or disposed of, it can still be consumed. Even the things which need to be thrown away, what can be done of it? We, on our part, some of it can be channeled for animal consumption. Some of it could be energy, used for energy, biofuel and all that.
About 50 fair price stores also donate items such as dented cans, vegetables and other products to organizations such as Food Bank Singapore and Food from the Heart. Fair Price says these products are still wholesome and edible and are redistributed to underprivileged Singaporeans. According to official figures, food waste has risen by about 42% since 2007. The biggest contributors are the manufacturing and retail sectors. Green Future Solutions, an environmental consulting company, is planning a campaign to educate businesses on how to cut food waste. It's been running a similar campaign for households. Green Future says there is no pressure on companies to reduce their food waste, neither are there clear incentives to encourage them to do so.
Currently there's no legislation saying that they have to reduce food waste. They're not sort of penalized by the government for throwing away food. So that has to change. For a start, the Inter-Ministry Committee can look at perhaps setting out a cross-sector partnership or committee where they can get the private sector as well as NGOs together and set some targets, guidelines and look at some of the policies to reduce food waste.
Singapore's recycling rate rose for the second consecutive year to 13% in 2013. But it's below the 30% target which Singapore was supposed to have reached by 2012. Mr. Tay says food manufacturers lack knowledge on how to sort waste and there are no clear recycling options for them. This is also one of the reasons why Singapore's only food recycling plant, IUT Global, shut down in 2011. The plant, which turns food waste into biogas and fertilizer, was operating at below capacity since it opened in 2008.
Without that commercial scale recycling plant, our recycling rate will probably remain constant over the next few years. But if you look at the government's plan, they're going to set up an integrated waste management facility which should be ready by 2021-2024.
The facility will generate biogas from food waste and sewage sludge. Downstream, the Singapore Environment Council launched an anti-food waste campaign last month, targeting individuals and households through this video.
阿哥，你食剩咁多飯菜，將來你未來老公冇面暗瘡頭皮啊！
Meanwhile, anti-food waste advocates say individuals can be empowered in simple ways to reduce food waste. For example, one could create a shopping list before stepping out of the house to avoid buying more than what's needed.